again. Ja, ek is vinnig, ek was maar vir my benne ook gewees daar nog.
live TV, brother. Live
Hey.
TV. It is what it is.
Yeah. Here we are, Alberic. Welcome, man.
How's it, Danny? Yes, lucky to be here again. We had a very successful show last week. A lot of people, tuned in and really enjoyed, our conversation. So yeah, I was lucky to hear, people live and to, get their feedback as to, whatever we were chatting about, with regards to the weekend's game. So it was lekker. Yeah, it's, what do you think? I mean, did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I will be back here this week again, but based on popular demand, people saying, "Listen, this needs to be a weekly show." But let's give it a go. I think it was an interesting week. We saw a lot of rugby, super fan Saturday. But let's start off by asking the question: British and Irish Lions tickets. A lot of us received some feedback. In my case, it was slightly negative. Applied for 2 games, unsuccessful for 2 games. And so there are many that didn't make the cut. LB, your take?
Yes, I was one of the few that was lucky. I can't complain about that. Yeah, I mean, something new to us. I mean, to apply for a lottery system, and I mean, obviously, I had it in World Cups do it, Rugby Worlds, FIFA does it as well. And yeah, it's one of those things. But it's a nice way just to kind of get people, making those tickets so sought after, man. It's a very special ticket to get the British Irish Lions, and yeah, I was lucky. I applied for the bar games, the one bar game at least. And so last week I said, extra poor, how many fools, bro. There where you need like a telescope. That's where I'm sitting. So I bought about 5 seats for my lens, so I can see some plays on the field. But yeah, at least I'm gonna be there, and that's part of what it's about, is just that vibe. I mean, containing those that red, that wave of red that's gonna be there. So yeah.
I must probably say congratulations, Alberic. You were successful. You didn't mention you were successful for the test, and you also got some tickets for the Stormers game, the 3rd of July, 2021. That the British Lions will play, obviously play the Stormers at Cape Town Stadium. So let's tap into our viewers here. Anybody, were you lucky, unlucky, like myself? Applied, didn't get. So drop us a line. We want to know, because this is going to be a very significant test match, especially in the time that we are now. We've seen now for the very first time last week, and we'll speak about it later in the show. Superfan Saturday. Players turning out after quite some time, and it's coronavirus, and the players obviously being very rusty. But we saw Saturday, we saw some live rugby. We wanted live rugby. Now, Beric, your take on Superfan Saturday?
Wil jy regtig weet? Well, yeah, it was great to see. There was some rust. I mean, especially in the second game. I think the coastal teams, I think, battled a bit, in terms of the altitude. But the rugby was great. It was good to see. What impressed me on the day was the Bulls team. I mean, they were phenomenal in the first half. Their backline was something else. I mean, they were taking gaps and hitting, running into space with speed, man. And it was great to see. It really, it was a beautiful rugby in the first half. Obviously, with this, second half comes, they bring a whole bunch of subs on, to give guys game time, and it does disrupt the flow a bit. But in general, it was fantastic to see. The Stormers obviously, played well to especially in the second half, to keep the Lions at bay. But that youth that we spoke about last week came through. The Lions were pushing that, these youngsters coming through, had nothing to lose. Putting their skills on the table and saying, I want to be accounted for, and that's what we saw. So yeah, very good. And again, to your team, sorry, Heidi. Second half, brilliant display. They came back very well in the second half.
But better, yeah.
Yeah, played much better in the second half. I mean, in the first half, it was a point a minute at one stage for the Bulls. But again, yeah, coming back second half, they played very well. But yeah, one of those days where I think the teams on display, I won't say it could go 50-50. I mean, they were playing at home, at Loftus' home ground, or the Bulls' home ground. But yeah, a great day for us. We were glad just to see rugby. I think that was fantastic.
So let's just remind our viewers about the scores. Not going to be a very comfortable position for me, but the Bulls beating the Sharks 49 points to 28, and the Stormers then beating the Lions 34 points to 21. The Bulls came out all guns blazing. I mean, really, as a Sharks supporter, I was very surprised. Three guys that stood out for me: Cornel Hendricks at inside center at 12. Very surprised that Jake selected him there.
Yeah.
Stedman Gans, oh, what a player! What a guy. Class player. You could see he was slightly fitter than the other guys. Perhaps there's something to do with his conditioning for sevens rugby. But then a guy that I just want to zoom into this guy very, very shortly, Kurt Lee Arendse. Oh, what a player. He was drafted into the team, into the gold and green team subsequent to Senatla's injury. And we know that there was some kind of a flight confusion. He missed his flight, so he won't be part of Saturday's structure. But he was called up by Rassie Erasmus and Key to join them based on that performance. I rate this guy very highly. I'm still not sure whether he's a center, a wing, or fullback, but we saw him on the Seventh Circuit. We know what he can do. We saw him for UWC in the Varsity Shield and the Varsity Cup. Great player. He steps up. He plays in the Super Fan Saturday competition and shows what he can do on that level. So I'm really excited about the future of South African rugby. There's a lot of youngsters coming through the structure, and on Saturday we will see many of them in action in the competition gold versus green. There's a bokspan, bietjie gemix met bok coaches in een hoek en bok coaches in die ander hoek. It's going to be a nice punch up.
No, for sure. I think, and the guys were again obviously knowing that the next game for SA Rugby would be the green versus gold, and the guys did want to show that on Superfan Saturday. I just want to read one or two comments coming through, and very little, in terms of Shark supporters coming through, but yeah,
it is what
it is. Yeah, like I said last week, we totally unbiased. Kyle saying on Storm Sam, I would assume he's a Storm supporter. So thanks for that, Kyle. So yeah, I think again, players did put up their hands coming for this weekend's game, and like you said, Kirtley, you're obviously putting his hand up and showing what kind of player he is. Sorry.
Yeah, can I just add to, and I want the viewers to get involved here. I'm not sure, how many of them, and we mentioned it in the last show. We mentioned something about altitude, né? And you mentioned it now about the coastal teams.
Yeah.
But obviously you don't count the Stormers as the coastal team. They obviously won. But let me tell you something that is very significant was the pace of both games. It was furious. Remember, let me take you back. These players come from a coronavirus break. All of a sudden, they need to train as professionals, and they hit the playing field. The Stormers versus Lions game, die eerste gedeelte van daai wedstryd was ek self uit asem uit as 'n toeskouer. It was furious. Damien Willems is taking the ball wide to Leolan Zas, and then all of a sudden Elton Jantjies gets the ball. He kicks the ball to Skortnel Kosan. Skortnel goes and scores. They kick off. So it was just, the pace of that.
Yeah.
It was hectic. It was hectic, but I was surprised. A lot of guys kept up. They kept up with the pace. They didn't dip in intensity. It was there.
Yeah.
So it tells me these guys are very fit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you mentioned, Stedman Gans and maybe his conditioning, could have played a role. But definitely, I mean, you could see even in that latter half, the first half, the guys were well spent. I think in the first half of the story of the Stormers game, it went up to 42, 43 minutes. You could see that the try that Sia, I mean, he just laid over. Besides the fact that Warwick tackled him, to say congratulations. But you could see that did play a role, and it's all to do with the conditioning throughout the season, and obviously not be having proper game time. I mean, there's no such actual training as putting it into a game, and that obviously showed. Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad it was not as many injuries. I think one of the comments before the game was that they expect a lot of injuries to happen, but wasn't that bad considering only one or two players that actually just they couldn't make the green versus gold squad. So yeah, but looking forward
And
to this weekend's game. Sorry,
uh,
Andy.
yeah, yeah,
Looking
and
forward to.
after, yeah,
No, you
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead. No.
No, I wanted to say, subsequent to those games, there was obviously a big draft selection,
Yeah.
eh? Green versus gold, and this is what the show is all about. That is why we are wearing our super proud um, Springbok jerseys. There was Rassie Erasmus and Zwan Dilestik selecting a green team, Jack Nienaber and Dion Davids selecting a gold team. Het was nogal exciting om het op TV te zien. They had this PlayStation-like guys on screen, and much like we played, what do you call it? Field rugby. You could select a player. You select, and I select, and you to make sure that you obviously select the best player first. And that was very similar. What was your take about this whole green versus gold selection and draft selection system?
Yeah, there was. I mean, obviously, I mean, these guys are professionals. I mean, they didn't pick on the day. This was clearly strategy I was playing, and even the way they played the rules, they would know, for example, that they'll maybe miss on the coin toss, but when it gets to a certain part, they'll be able to choose combinations when it comes to picking centers and that kind of thing. And obviously, if you look at on Jacques' side, Ninaber's side, with Dion Davids, you could see there was clearly, the big talk was combinations, and they obviously went with quite a bit of stormers in the squad. Guys that would from fly off to scrum off, guys that would be able that know each other, that play as well. So that was interesting to see, and obviously countering that was Rassie and Stix's move where Rassie was choosing the forwards and Stix was choosing the back line, which is pretty interesting as well. So each team had their own brought their own flavor to how they would pick those players. So that's pretty interesting.
Can we have a sneak peek at the two teams quickly? And I want to get the viewers involved. I see there's a lot of them on social media. We'll get to your comments now. Let's just have a sneak peek at the teams, and we will have a look at the team of that is the team of Jack Nienaber and Dion Davids, the gold team. Like Alberic has alluded, a lot of Stormers players. He went for a combination at 9-10 of Herser, Jantjies, and Davian Willemse. But I want to zoom into just one position, and specifically because I saw Warwick Galant playing for the Stormers on Saturday at number 15. What a player! He starts for the gold team at 15. He's an informed player, and he played brilliantly against the Lions on Saturday. What do you think of Warwick Alberic?
No, Warwick definitely put his hand up. I mean, he's been a player that's been on our lips for quite a while. And he's a youngster and he's coming up. I mean, the way he slotted into the backline was something that was really magnificent to see. And then also I mean, the try that he scored was out of nothing. I mean, he obviously made sure that he would his match. I think he was two prop forwards in front of him. He knew he could beat those players, and he did it. And he took it. He trusted his ability to do that, and that's what we need. We need players to know, to trust their own ability, trust what they can do, and then take on players one on one. I mean, a golden example is Cheston Colby, and just being confident in your ability. So Warwick has really, I mean, he really did a very good job of impressing me as to what we can expect later on, even in the years, besides the Springboks and even for the Stormers, what he can do. So yeah, I mean, this team is very exciting. I think from a backline point of view, the talks is that it will be a backline versus the backline of the gold team versus the forward pack of the green team, and that's going to be very interesting to see. how that plays out. But I mean, if you look no further than Urshel Jantjies and Damon Willemse just being that spark um, that will ignite this team and the backline. I mean, then you also have like a general in Lokanya directing things as well. So there's a lot of, besides being captain as well. There's a lot of firepower in that backline, I think. And then just to kind of add measure, you have Roscoe Speckman. I mean, we had Fabian Jurich on Tekkel a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that outside of Cheslin, Roscoe is his best stepper currently. So yeah, I think this team does have a lot of firepower. But looking at the pack itself, I mean, there's Noche, which is a great runner. I mean, Zamka is a strong runner as well. So there's a lot of power in this pack as well. And I might just think that the green team has a bit of an edge over this one, looking at the pack. Just because of the heavyweights that we'll look at now in the second.
So just while we switch over to the green team, let's get the viewers involved here. Any players that you want to see in action or you predict might just sway Rassi and his coaching team to have a look at perhaps trumping certain players that has been key in the Rugby World Cup, perhaps moving up into the ranks. So give us your comment. We will show your comment definitely on screen. While we move over to the green team, we will certainly place your comment on screen. Give us your best comment, and we will certainly comment on that as well. So looking at the green team,
yeah,
this is the team of Rassie, Erasmus, and Zwandile Stick. Now, Alberic, I want to throw a curveball here, and we spoke earlier in the week, and I want to obviously concur with you. It would have been, or we said, listen, this pack of forwards, Oxenche, Bongi Manambe, Luan de Brein, and look at that loose trio, Dwayne Vermeulen, Arno Botha, and then obviously the World Cup winning captain, Siya Kolisi. It was going to be this pack against the back line of Damian Willemse, Herschel Jantjies, Roscoe Speckman, Courtney Kosan. But now the weather has changed in Cape Town. I'm not sure whether there's Gauteng listeners. We are expecting some rainy weather as from tonight right through the weekend. And that is going to have an influence on the way that Damian Willemse wants to play, the way that Courtney Kosan and Roscoe, along with Warwick, wants to play. So now all of a sudden, I'm moving slightly to say this green team, look at that pack of forward, look at their substitutions. All of a sudden, with Elton Jantjies at pivot, Big Frans Steyn at 12, they become the favorites. I'm gonna throw the ball into your court, Albie.
I think that's going to be my pick as well, and we'll talk about it later a bit further. But if you're taking weather into account, then it does sway things in the green team's perspective.
Yep.
If you look at the pack, and also behind this pack you have in front of this pack you have Elton Jantjies, experienced campaigner. He's been around for a while, so you'll definitely know how to play behind such a pack. And then also besides the fact that we do have this great pack of forwards, we shouldn't forget that there's Frans Steyn in the backline, guys. I mean, Frans Steyn is a experienced campaigner. He knows he's played in conditions like this for years in Europe. So
a huge frame
is for sure. And then to add to that, you have Wandisile Simelane as well. I mean, he's besides being a great prospect, for the Springboks going ahead. I think that combination does hold a lot of merit and a lot of weighting. And it will be interesting to see how the two of them combine. But the pick of the backline, the forwards does speak a lot in terms of their names, and they do carry a lot of weighting. But Gianni Lombard at the back, pretty exciting. When he came up on Saturday, he had a very interesting. He brought a different dynamic to the team. And I'm very interested to see how you'll be able to counter whatever Damon will throw at him, whether it's up and unders or kicking in the corner. So his positional play will come into play. Very important. But yes, this pack of forwards, it's heavy, and I look no further than that loose trio. But yeah, if conditions are otherwise, if it's a sunny day on Saturday, it's going to sway back to the goal team.
Yeah, I think the Gold team might just run riot. One surprise, and I just want to zoom into this player because it surprised me when Rassi selected this player. And with all respect, he's a Sharks player. Hiron Andrews. I recall. I'm not sure how many of you watched the draft, but Rassi actually gave some context as to why he's selecting Hiron at number 5, and obviously wanting to counter that lock combination. Salman, obviously, with Marvin Ori in the other lock combination, will challenge this combination of JD Sickling and Hiron Andrews. But interesting enough, Rassi, being the rugby genius that he is, immediately picked up that they would probably have a shortage of jumpers in their
Yes,
side.
yes,
And
yes,
he
yes.
anticipated, remember, they didn't reveal the starting lineup until yesterday. So he
Yeah.
anticipated and almost got into the mind of Dion and Jacques and saying, you know what, I think you're going to play X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to throw a curveball selecting Highland Andrews along with Sia, along with JD, and also having Dwayne that can jump. It's going to be a very interesting tussle at line out time to see how Wongi would, manage that line out. To whom will he throw in front? To whom will he throw at the back? So Rassi again, just showing his, I would almost say his hand in terms of strategy. So that is going to be a very interesting tussle for me as well. So let's get the viewers involved. Alberic, is there any movement on social media in terms of the teams before we move over to our next point?
No, there's definitely a few, a few comments.
As gaat er weer
um,
stomen?
yeah, no, look, I mean, there's obviously a few people coming through, just giving their opinion as to what
Ja,
they
ten
think of the
juist.
players. But yeah, it makes me feel comfortable knowing Rassi is the fact that he's such a great strategist, the fact that he even he picks his warm up game. Let's call this a warm up game for the sake of it. That he even he's put so much thought into that already. It just shows the kind of caliber coach that he is, man. And then that makes me feel comfortable going ahead, for the next generation of our legacy as being World Cup champions. But yeah, he's fantastic. And then also looking at Sticks, it would be great to see how he pulls that backline together, because that's obviously his task on the green side. So yeah, that would be fantastic to see. I think with that said, I mean, a couple of comments with regards to Nieuwnaber. Clayton says Nieuwnaber went with Stormers because Sharks can only play the last 20 minutes. Showed last week, hulle was soos 'n ou Fort Bakkie wat jy die choke moes uittrek. Hashtag Team Gold.
Can we? Yeah, Clayton, please, man, listen. Yeah, but listen, the Sharks players outplayed, outmuscled, out strategized by a Bulls team that just came out and blew them away. You can't play that catch up rugby. So Clayton has got a point. Albeit that the Sharks had a lot of first team players out of the side, you would expect guys like JP Peterson to step up and replay a little bit better. The Bulls were all over them. And then you want to come in the like Clayton is saying, in the last 20 minutes you want to play rugby. Rugby doesn't work like that. Yes, if you are really close by, but they were trailing by a lot. So he's got a point. Before we go to another fourth Bucky comment, let's ask the viewers the next question. Who are you backing? I know I'm backing the gold team. The weather obviously throwing a curveball now. It's gonna rain, but I think the gold team might just surprise the green team. To the viewers out there, looking at the teams we threw onto the screen, who do you think will trump who? I know that the Springbok captain is playing for Rassi's team, that very, very good side. Elton at 10, pivot. Ek weet Bobby said, oh, alweer Elton. He's the guy without Pollard, he's the guy that needs to slot in there. He's the senior guy that needs to take up the reins. So, viewers, gold or green, and why? Alberic, you're probably going to say, I'm backing the green team.
Yes, I am back in the green team.
Chrisine is also back. Chrisine Zapte is with you on that one.
Yeah, she's back in the green team. Kyle Goliath saying Sia always wins. Then we have Rodwell Arnold coming in with gold team. I think it's only one gold team here. So dankie Rodwell dat jy vir hy nie laat goed voel. Dankie vir dit. Ek is bly. Dankie.
I'm the odd one out
Waardeer
on my own show here.
But yeah, I think yeah, guys, keep on coming. I think that's fantastic to hear. You know, to hear your thoughts. But yeah, it just bodes well for our teams. I mean, if you look at the caliber of players that we have on the bench, I mean, we didn't mention, you know, on the one side, Elton, you know, Ambrose Papier, Springbok, that's also on the bench as well. So there's a lot of depth that we haven't been seeing for a while. And so it'll be good to see how he can come into the fore as well. Here's Cheryl Cockrell saying green all the way. So thanks for that comment. Thanks,
Cheryl, man.
My brood is groen. Gareth
Butler. Gareth. This is the guy that last week he made an interesting comment, eh?
Yes.
I remember Gareth. Last week he said...
Gareth sê nie baie nie. Gareth het nou, my brood is groen. I mean, we all say we Springboks. But he's not being very clear on that. So I think he's also suffering from an identity crisis. But thanks for that, Gareth. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think it bodes well for what we're going to see for the rest of the year. You know, looking ahead towards the rugby championship and taking a step further, is how much game time we'll have, how much time we'll be able to get in before we take on. Are we ready to take on? You know, Rassi mentioned six players. Sorry, 6 games as you know, enough game time to take on, you know, the All Blacks and Australia and obviously Argentina. Is that enough? We don't know. And also the caliber, you know, looking at, you know, being a Currie Cup version of our players. We want to have our best players, you know, them playing overseas, obviously. Will there be enough time to get the team gelling and getting them back into the, you know, being world champions and taking
very interesting point.
Forward, man. That'll be interesting to
very
see.
Interesting point. You know, the big question: these players, are they playing on Saturday? Are they a step closer to the Springbok side? Because we know Damien Delendi, Cheslin Kobe, Willie Leroux, Andre Pollard being injured. They are all playing in the UK. What do we read in Saturday's game? I believe that it is an opportunity for a player to say, you know what, I can make the step up.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, there are players that are in the inside lane to play in the rugby championships if we do play. But also I expect the team that will take on the British and Irish Lions not to be much different to the team we saw playing against England in the Rugby World Cup final. Yeah. That is my prediction. Nienaber, being the coach now, he took over from Rassi. I don't expect Jar coming in and say, hey, weet jy man, ek gaan die team nou heeltemal verander. No, it doesn't work like that. So it is an opportunity for a young player like Gianni Lombard, like Nwamba, like a Sukumbuzo Noche, like all of those young players who say, you know what, I am here, I'm knocking on the door, and then there's an opportunity. If injuries do arise, I need to slot in. I need to make that step out. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting. And going over to our next point again, not predictions in terms of score, but what are the matchups that you are looking forward to see? I know I have a few as you know, as a rugby fanatic. What do you think will happen in terms of game plan? How will Nienaber and Davids try and crump Rassi and Stick? If there's any predictions that you have, throw it to us. There's one area that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
it is certainly to see the guys that has been nominated, or I would always say, you know, perceived as surprises. We know you mentioned Gianni Lombard, you've mentioned Noamba, we've mentioned Hiron Andrews. These are players that you know, it's almost surprising to see them as part of the bigger group. How will they go? And will they be able to match the senior guys in terms of intensity, physicality? How will they match up? Because this is perhaps the one opportunity for them to say, you know, I'm part of a bigger Springbok squad, playing in a green versus gold team. How will I obviously match up against the big Springbok sides?
Yeah, the minute, I mean, again, if you look at a player like Cheslin Colby and him coming, getting his first Test match, 2 years ago, or first Test match, getting onto the scene again after a while. He had to prove himself, in a large way, and he did it against Ricky Ioane, and those kind of players are special in terms of BMT being running through their veins and taking that moment on. If I'm playing against even Etzebeth today, I need to step my game up, and that's what youngsters bring to the fore. I think that aspect of wanting to compete and wanting to be better, and that's what makes rugby so great at the moment. That's what makes us feeling good about the future of SA rugby. Is the fact that you have these youngsters coming through, wanting to show what they can do and how they can perform. And I think that's a mark of the great players, and taking those moments and taking it on. I think that's fantastic. I just want to bring one or two comments, and I think one or two All Black fans coming through the ranks here. We have a Garth Vidboy saying, as an All Black supporter, I'm flipping a coin and it's gold. As a Box supporter, Garth, we welcome you. No hard feelings, brother. Thanks for your comment. Thanks for your comment, Garth.
But it can be a toin cost. It can really be a toin cost.
Yeah.
You can't choose between these sides, So, Garth, great comment. And obviously we wish you well without the Springboks in the Super Rugby as well. Let's see, Roscoe.
Roscoe.
Robbie.
Kapix, is dit jou bynaam? Is dit sê net gou is dit jou bynaam?
Dit is bynaam, ja.
Welkom, Roscoe.
Die ouetjie het gespeel vir Abbotsdale vir baie jare, rugby saam met my.
Welkom.
Robbie is my nickname, né, for my surname. So hy praat ook direk, is soos jy gesê, die forwards het die oorhand met die reën wat voorspel word. Loose forwards van die span is goeie ballcarriers van beide spanne. I agree with him. Zooming into the loose forwards, Berg Nizamka, obviously playing his first game, who's all of a sudden he makes it into one of the sides. So is it perhaps an indication? We know that there are loose forwards like Peter Steep that were injured, other players that needs to come in. Jacob Kriel will be returning from the UK to the Lions. So die competitie daar is sterk. But the fact that Nizam makes the team, I'm a big fan of Nizam, but obviously he plays for the wrong side.
No, for sure. I think now he plays for the wrong side. He played for the right side before. But Nizam, he didn't have a lot of time to show on Saturday what he could do. We know his capabilities, and I think based on that history of his experience, at least, you can't put a player like him out. But I just want to make one point clear with regards to my thinking with regards to Rassie, and bring it back to Rassie's point is Rassie. I almost think he's already 2 years ahead. He's probably 3 years ahead of where we are right now. We're talking about tomorrow. He's probably thinking about the game in 3 years' time. What will it look like after the Lions? What will the squad look like? Blooding some youngsters in. He's already looking at that phase already, and it's fantastic to see that kind of vision. It just puts me, like I said, I'm very comfortable knowing where we're at the moment with Rassie, and he just brings that calmness, to SA rugby, which we've wanted for quite a while. But yeah, with that said, I mean the amount of talent we have that he has at his disposal that he can pick and choose is great to see. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great one. I think it's going to be a fantastic game on Saturday. I think the players that will definitely have opportunity to play will definitely want to be, whether it's in the line squad for next year, whether it's in 2 years' time to be known as, I'm going to be the next fullback, or I'm going to be the next winger or whatever. That opportunity, I want to put my hand up now in front of my crowd and my country. And see what they can offer. So yeah, it's gonna be fantastic to see. I think it's gonna be a great game. It's a pity it's on an empty Newlands. I mean, we spoke about our first episode as being farewell to Newlands. Pity nobody can be there, but yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be lekker to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, nobody to watch the game in person, but we will all be watching on the television, backing our players. To all the comments, Owen van Woester, ek sien jou, Richard van Pakketberg, we see your comments. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. like we say, this is just a midweek show to give you an appetizer to our weekend show. But again, we wanted to go live, and you said go live again. We are here. We're listening to you. Keep the comments coming at Tekkel Chat on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. On Saturday, we watched the green team of Rassie Rasmus and Zwan Dilestik taking on the gold team of Dion Davids and Jacques Niemeyer. It's gonna be spectacular. Of the rain of nie reën, we will be watching and hoping to see young players producing quality rugby, and hoping that they would obviously cement a possible position for the rugby championships and building up to the British and Irish Lions tour in 2021. Ja, Berry, het was weer lekker om met jou te gesels. Groete daar vir die mense in Kuilsrivier.
Lekker. En jou kant ook in Mamasbury ook. Alle groete jou kant. Ja.
Dit lekker. Ons maak die brood mos hier so, né?
I said nothing. But yeah, so lekker. Sorry, Anish, I just want to make one thing, guys. This, we have been having this live show, but our guest, we do have a guest coming up next weekend or next week, Thursday at least. And we want you guys to tune in. It will be a very interesting chat that we had. And we want you guys to really tune in and take part where you can. So yeah, thanks guys. Really appreciate it. And we love you. Thanks. All the comments. There's still some comments coming through. Sorry. One more comment. I just want to show. Scala Boer. No, is a Scala, is it no Skalburger of wie? Wayne Fortuin wat sê Skalburger. So yeah, thanks. Thanks. It could be Scala de Bende, yeah. But yeah, guys. Yeah, guys. So thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate your comments. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. And yeah, Heini, great stuff.
Now, wonderful show again. Thanks so much, guys, for commenting on the show. That is why ons wil nie met mekaar praat nie. Ons hou nie van ons eie team nie. We want you to get involved. So get involved at Tekkel Chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Gooi jou comment and be part of Tekkel Chat. Until next time, Alberic, Shap.
Pokke boer.